Hello everyone. Welcome to your video class. This is the third video class. Before we start, I want to clarify that, for example, whenever you're gonna present a speaking exam, the speaking part is gonna ask you some oral interventions. So for the oral intervention, you click this button here and it says grabar o cargar medios or something like this, and it will show you a webcam where you can do your intervention and it will record whatever you want to say. Please click it here, remember, where it says grabar cargar medios. Don't forget, this is to insert the media file, so it is not gonna be possible. Alright, okay guys, so for this presentation I want you to look at some of the most important details that I want you to look at, and let's see how it goes here. So this is the third module. We're gonna see today, we're gonna go through reflexive pronouns, okay, and be used to. This is an expression that we use to refer to things that were a habit in the past. All right. Um, well, the first thing I want to talk about here is some of your assignments have not been uploaded on time. So please, guys, get them there and let me verify that's like what you have done. Also, let me check on excuse me, there's someone behind me, but that's fine. Please double check instructions for each activity, right? Sometimes the like the instructions are the best way where you can solve a situation with your problems. Like instructions have everything you need to know. Please don't use the translators. Don't use them. It is very evident to me whenever you use a translator, and the sentences you give me are a complete disaster sometimes, and you have a very low grade. So please try to use your English, your intuition, your logics. Alright guys, so we have for this last module, the 5 principal topics, which are adverbial clauses, reflexive pronouns, reported speech. This topic is a special matter here, because this topic we're gonna go through like little by little. Alright, so it's gonna be very important that you pay attention to the video classes that I'm gonna start giving on this topic, okay? And also used to versus be used to, which is something we're gonna start doing today, and also relative clauses. So let's start with the reflexive pronouns. Okay, a reflexive pronoun is what we put to refer to ourselves, right? So it says reflexive pronouns comes from normal pronouns. I, so that will be turned into myself. You, yourself. He, himself. She, sorry, herself. It, itself. We, ourselves. You, yourselves. They, themselves. Okay, so it is very easy. It's just putting the possessive adjective plus self, and that's it. So basically, the reflexive pronouns lay on some definition, which is that they are used when the subject of the verb and the direct object of the verb are the same person. Example we have here: I cut myself on a broken glass. I am the object of the sentence as well as I am the doer of the sentence. I cut myself. I cut to me, right? That's like the literal translation that we can have. I cut to me, right? It could be like I cut Daniel, I cut Luisa, I cut the panela, right? I don't know. But in this case, I am the one suffering the action because it's reflexive. It's something that I do to myself. So let's go to this pronoun chart, which is gonna let us understand a little bit more of the reflexive pronouns. So the first person is I, right? And the object pronoun is me, possessive is my, possessive pronoun is mine, and the reflexive is myself, right? All of these are the pronoun chart to understand the differences between the pronouns, because maybe for some of you this is not very clear, right? Object pronouns always refer to someone, right? I speak to my mother, so I speak to her, right? No, I don't say I speak to she. This is not possible, right? Or I speak to hers, because this is not possible either. I speak to herself. It could be possible in a philosophical point of view, or from a very, um, let's say abstract point of view, right? Like if there was something going on herself, maybe I can do that. But whenever there are some verbs that I use and I need to use them as object pronouns or as possessive pronouns or as reflexive pronouns. In this case, we are looking at reflexive pronouns. So wait, before we continue doing this, I want to show you a website, a web source when we can reflect on this. So look, here's another example. We didn't decorate it ourselves, right? We didn't decorate it ourselves. It means that we didn't do it. Someone else did it for us, right? So this is the obvious thing about this first sentence. Someone did it for us. I didn't do it. She didn't do it. Someone else did it, right? We didn't decorate it ourselves. So for I, there is a reflexive pronoun which is myself. For you, yourself. He, himself. She, herself. It, itself. There is one that is called oneself, and it is like to deconstruct yourself. It is a third objective person, oneself. It's like in Spanish we say uno mismo, right? Like for example in English, you say like, um, you have, I mean, we have to do things. One has to do things for oneself. It's a way of getting apart from a direct person and just speak about like a third person objectively, right? Uh, it's like in Spanish we say, uno tiene que hacer las cosas por uno mismo, no por los demás. It's like saying you have to do things for yourself and not for anyone else, right? In the languages we have differences between the reflexive pronouns. In Spanish it's completely different than in English. In English we can have like more flexibility. um, so in this case we use reflexive pronouns for the same subject and object, right? He cut himself with a broken glass. She made herself a cup of tea and sat down in front of the television. Here's what we say, like, you do things for yourself, nobody else does it, you do them. Like, for example, I can say I made this computer by myself. It means that I did it. I bought this telephone myself. It means that nobody gave me the money to do it, right? So it has some logics. If you start trying to, like, if you try to think a little bit above the literal sense, it has some logics whenever you think about someone else doing some stuff for you. Let's say a kid is starting to eat, right? A baby. So I ask him, do you eat by yourself or your mother gives you the food? So the kid can say, no, I eat by myself, like he can do it himself or herself, right? But it depends on how you want to use it too. Like, that's why it is really important to understand the context of the sentence. Every sentence with a reflexive has a context. So we have here, for example, Agnes looked at herself in the mirror. To look yourself in the mirror is a very reflexive act, because you look at you. I mean, you normally look at someone, but when you reflect yourself in the mirror, it's a complete reflexive act. um, Agnes looked at her in the mirror. The subject and the object are different, and Agnes is looking at someone else in the mirror, right? Looked at her in the mirror. But looked at herself, it means that she looked entirely to herself. Also, we can say looked at her in the mirror, but it doesn't have the same connotation. It doesn't have the same strength as if you were talking about, like more exactly about some physical feature, rather than something that you want to emphasize on, right? So also we have reflexive pronouns for emphasis, right? We can use them when we have to, let's say, when we want to highlight the value of some person, right? We can use them in this way. Let's say this example: the director of the company wrote to us himself to apologize for the dreadful service, right? So in this case, the context is like he apologized, right? But it is about the way he did it. It's not just the way. It's just not that he apologized. We are highlighting the fact that he himself, he did it. He was the one who did it, right? um, and this is very important because it gives more, it gives in terms of communicative, uh, let's say, approach. It is more important that he focuses on apologizing himself rather than he sends other person to apologize, right? So that's fine. So it is very important that you guys take that into consideration. Also, we have the reflexive pronouns with the with by, right? So for example, it says we often use reflexive pronouns with by to mean alone or without any help, right? Why don't you go by yourself? It means like you should go by yourself, right? uh, the children made the entire meal by themselves. Normally, you think that children can't cook, but you get surprised because you say, "Oh, you did it by yourself? Wow, that's great." So it's something that adds a value to what you think is not possible. Normally, I don't know, let's say there is a mother and she has 4 kids, and the father is dead, she's a widow or something, and she says, "Oh, I raised my kids myself without any help." So you are very surprised because a mother of 4 children, it's very difficult, right? Because the situation is extreme, let's say. um, let's say you do this for a first time and it looks perfect. You prepare tacos for the first time, right? And it looks very professional, very neat, and you present it to your family or your girlfriend, I don't know, and she says, "Oh, you made this for by yourself, or you called a chef to prepare this?" And you can say, "No, I made this by myself." Whoa, it looks very nice, right? So this is the full connotation of the meaning on by plus the reflexive pronoun. Also, we want to talk about reflexive pronouns for politeness, right? um, when we use reflexive pronouns for politeness, it is when, for example, it says the National Trust is a charity depending on the support of people like yourself, right? Or people like you. The example here is very clear. Let's say I want to, I don't want to attack directly to someone, but I want to refer to someone a little bit more, soft. So I can say, people like yourself should be aware of this and this and this and that, whatever. Or we can celebrate this with people like yourself. When you want to be polite, also it can be it can be offensive, depending on the way you use it. Because, for example, if you refer to a black person like that, it could be very, very difficult. For example, you want to say, like, people like yourself shouldn't be here, right? But you don't refer to the color of the person, but it can be interpreted as that, right? So you have to be very careful on how to use that reflexive pronoun for politeness. I recommend not to use it like that. I recommend that you use just you, people like you. uh, I don't like people like you, I don't like people like her, I don't like people like them, or I prefer to treat people like themselves. I don't know, stuff like that. um, and well, this is basically everything about the reflexive pronouns. It is not that difficult, guys. It is something very easy. And well, I think we should continue with the expressions used to and be used to. There is a very important difference here when we talk about this used to and be used to. When we talk about used to, we talk about the habits or repeated actions in the past which we don't do in the present. So, for example, I used to play soccer when I was a child, but I don't do it anymore, right? Maria used to dance salsa in the summer, but now it is winter. So, if you see, this used to normally is compared with the present. And it talks about a habit that I had during the past, but now is not possible to bring it back because it was something that happened in the past. For example, let's say in my school, I used to eat mango biche. I used to play a lot of micro with my friends. In the school, I used to study very much English. I used to read a lot of books on English language. I used to listen a lot of rock now and metal, and now I don't listen to that kind of music. I listen to other music. I used to play escondidas americanas, and I used to kiss many women or some children there. Like when you were a child, like you had some habits that now are different. When I was young, I used to drink a lot of alcohol, but now it is different. So you normally contrast the present and the past. And the habits, it talks about the habits that you had in the past, but now they don't exist anymore. So, well, something that you have to pay attention a lot is the use of the negative form of used to, because whenever we have negative form of used to, we just delete the d. We don't need the d, so the d goes, right? So, for example, when I make a negative sentence, I say I didn't use to um, fight with my friends. I don't know. I didn't use to. So notice here that I don't pronounce used to, because in the negative form I don't conjugate the verb. The verb is not conjugated. It is very important that you remember that. because whenever you talk about this habits or routines from the past, you also are going to find negative sentences, right? In Spanish, let's say this particle used to refers to solía hacer tal cosa. Por ejemplo, en español nosotros decimos yo solía ir al parque con mis amigos, yo solía comer mangoviche, yo solía pegar los chicles debajo del puesto, pero ya no, ¿sí? So that's my comparison between the actions that were, a habit in the past, but now they are completely different. Now, with the negative is no solía, right? So, for example, yo no solía salir hasta tarde. Yo no solía tomar alcohol cuando era niño, right? But now I used to do this and blah 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 blah, right? So be careful with the negative form, because in the negative form you don't conjugate this. And used to is also used as an auxiliary verb. It is very important that you have this in mind, because you use this used to with a verb. Look, I used to play. Maria used to dance. Mike's father used to tell him stories, blah 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 blah. So this here in the affirmative form, it functions as if it was an auxiliary, but in the negative form you need the auxiliary did. In the negative would be like, the negative of this, for example, could be like, I didn't used to play soccer when I was a child, right? Maria didn't used to dance salsa in the summer. Mike's father didn't used to tell him stories when Mike was a kid. Now, in the affirmative form, right, it is, I used to play soccer when I was a child. Maria used to dance salsa in the summer. Mike's father used to tell him stories when Mike was a kid, right? So all of these sentences you please need to understand that refer to different things. When you say didn't used to, you refer to something you didn't have as a habit. But when you say used to, you refer to things that were a habit in your behavior. Okay? Now, what happens with be used to? Be used to is to talk about things that feel normal. It could be in the past, it could be in the present, or it could be in the future, right? For example, I think that in the future I will be used to having problems with my health, right? For example, my arm hurts and my head hurts because I become a viejito, right? So I will be used to. Now, this expression in Spanish means acostumbrarse a, o estar acostumbrado a, o estaré acostumbrado a, o estuve acostumbrado a, o estoy acostumbrado a. So of course it depends, all of this depends on how you use this expression. So for example, here the normal formula is subject to be, used to, and the gerund form. The to be depends on the tense where you want to use it. If you want to use it in the past, then you say was. For example, this I am, in the past it would be I was used to eating healthy, but now I am not used to eating healthy, right? So it was something that happened in the past, but now it is not a reality, right? Also, you are used to smiling. He or she is used to watching. We are used to chatting. They are used to walking. So remember, when we have the be and the used to, it needs to be with a gerund form. So it means that these verbs normally convert into ing, right? In the past we can say I was used to eating healthy, you were used to smiling too much, she or he was used to watching TV, we were used to chatting online, they were used to walking in the rain, right? Because we can say that to refer to present or past habits. It also talks about habits, things that we do every day. So it is very important that you focus on this. You focus on this context. That when we talk about to be used to or used to, right, without the verb to be, we have to differentiate between these two things. Well, I hope it is very clear for you guys. Now, let's compare the two of them. Used to is an action or habit that was common in the past but not anymore. And be used to is being accustomed to something. It is not usual anymore. So look at these examples. I used to smoke 15 years ago, but now I don't smoke. So you see, you contrast the past and the present. He used to play soccer, but his leg is broken. He doesn't play it anymore. They didn't used to drink milk when they were children, but now they drink it every day. To be used to, being accustomed. For example, I am used to walking to the school. Yo estoy acostumbrado a caminar, right? Yo no digo bueno, yo puedo decir yo suelo caminar, pero entonces eso sería utilizando used to. I am used to walking to the school. He's used to the noise in Istanbul. Not necessarily you have to accompany this used to with a verb. It also can be a noun. Él está acostumbrado al ruido, ¿no? O a caminar, al ruido. Yo estoy acostumbrado no sé, yo estoy acostumbrado a mi chaqueta, right? I am used to my jacket. That's it. No tienes que acompañarlo siempre de un verbo. So it is very important that you reflect on this. Jack wasn't used to eating broccoli when he was 9. Como decimos, por ejemplo, yo estoy acostumbrado a la soledad. Me gusta estar solo. I am used to being alone. Or you can say, I am used to loneliness. That's it. You are using a noun instead of a verb, right? So be please very careful on how you use this expression, because this expression can mean a lot of things if they are not used appropriately. So please be careful on how you use this. Remember, well, recap reflexive pronouns and be used to or used to. These were the topics of today. I hope you have enjoyed them. Thank you very much, and well, that's it.